just 8.8 miles. That's all that separates Europe from Africa, shorter than most commutes. And yet, there's no bridge, not even a serious attempt. Meanwhile, we've built across frozen oceans, active fault lines, and open seas. So what's stopping us here? Why hasn't anyone bridged the gap? Let's explore. Before exploring why a bridge between Europe and Africa hasn't been built, it's important to understand why the idea is so appealing. A bridge across the Gibraltar Strait would create a direct, easy link between the continents. This would open access for over 1 billion Africans to Europe and over 700 million Europeans to Africa, with potentially millions crossing daily. Tourism around the strait would surge. Morocco, already a top African destination, earned $9 billion from tourism in 2022, with Europeans making up about 70% of visitors in 2023. A direct connection would likely increase these numbers even more. Spain, across the strait, is a global tourism hotspot, attracting over 82 million visitors in 2018. Yet only about 1% came from Morocco. A bridge could increase visits from Africa, boosting Spain's tourism economy. Beyond tourism, trade would benefit too. Africa is the European Union's fourth largest trading partner, with trade reaching nearly $300 billion in 2019. Most goods now move by sea or air, but a bridge with a high-speed freight train would speed up transport and cut costs by reducing reliance on slower ships and expensive air freight. Do you think a bridge between Europe and Africa could replace flights and ferries one day? Comment and chat with me. But with all the potential benefits, why hasn't this bridge been built yet? What lies beneath the surface might just explain everything. The Strait of Gibraltar is a vital link between Europe and Africa and one of the world's busiest shipping routes. It is the only waterway connecting the Mediterranean Sea to the Atlantic Ocean, with over 100,000 ships passing through each year. In contrast, the Panama Canal sees only about 14,000 ships annually, just 14% of Gibraltar's traffic. Building a bridge across the strait could enable freight trains to carry goods between continents, but it poses major challenges. An 8-mile-long bridge, like the Rio-Niterói Bridge in Brazil, which took 5 years to build, would disrupt maritime traffic for years. Given the strait's high volume of ships, such construction would significantly impact global trade. Even once built, the bridge would need to accommodate large vessels. Some container ships, like the CMA-CGM Jacques, are about 256 feet tall, with roughly 50 feet below the waterline. To allow safe passage, the bridge would need a clearance of at least 206 feet, not accounting for deep foundations. A drawbridge might seem like a solution. It could lift to let ships pass and lower for land traffic. However, with one ship passing every 5 minutes on average, the bridge would be constantly raised. Since it takes about 2 minutes to open or close, this would cause frequent and severe traffic delays. And if navigating one of the world's busiest shipping routes isn't hard enough, just wait until you look below the surface, because what lies in the depths of the strait may be the most terrifying obstacle of all. Before exploring, I have a special 10-second request for all of you listening. If you can help me in any way, just hit the notification bell and hit that subscribe button. It helps this channel so much, and if you do that, I will do everything I can to make this show even better for you. Deal? A drawbridge is not an option due to the busy shipping lanes, so any crossing over the Strait of Gibraltar must be built more than 200 feet above the water. But height is just one of many challenges. Though the strait is only 8 miles wide at its narrowest point, it is incredibly deep, averaging 1,200 feet, with some areas reaching 3,000 feet. That is enough to stack about 2.5 Empire State Buildings. For comparison, the Golden Gate Strait is just over 300 feet deep. This extreme depth makes construction especially difficult. The world's current deepest bridge, the Padma Bridge in Bangladesh, has foundations reaching 417 feet deep. A Gibraltar crossing would require supports more than 7 times deeper just to remain structurally sound. Depth is not the only issue. Beneath the seabed lies the Azores-Gibraltar Transformed Fault, where the African, Eurasian, and Iberian plates meet. These plates sometimes lock together from friction, causing pressure to build. When that pressure releases, earthquakes occur. This fault zone has been responsible for significant seismic events. In 1755, a powerful earthquake near Lisbon caused widespread destruction and triggered a tsunami that reached Lisbon with 20-foot waves and Cadiz with waves over 60 feet. It had a major impact across Portugal, Spain, and Morocco. Another earthquake struck in 2004 near Al Hoceima in Morocco. It measured 6.3 in magnitude and caused severe damage to infrastructure, with many buildings affected and hundreds of lives lost. These events show that the region is seismically active. Still, building bridges in earthquake-prone areas is possible. The Akashi Kaikyo Bridge in Japan, for instance, spans an active fault zone. Its flexible steel towers and 20-tuned mass dampers, pendulum-like devices that counteract seismic motion, help it withstand earthquakes. With similar engineering solutions, a bridge across the Strait of Gibraltar may be feasible. It would be a massive challenge, but not an impossible one. But even if we could outsmart the earthquakes and conquer the depths, there's one more obstacle that brings everything to a halt. What if the real reason this bridge doesn't exist is because we simply can't afford it? Researchers have also identified that the floor of the strait contains at least 2 deep quaternary clay channels. These channels consist of soft, unconsolidated clay deposits, which can be unstable and prone to shifting under pressure or due to geological activity. Given the region's seismic history, this may not be the most ideal spot for construction. So not only would this crossing need to span at least 8 miles, but it would also require foundations approximately 3,000 feet deep, all while being engineered to withstand earthquakes, despite being built into unstable ground. As you might expect, a project of this scale would be extremely costly. For reference, the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, a 34-mile bridge tunnel system connecting Hong Kong, Macau, and mainland China, cost around $18 billion. While a Europe to Africa crossing wouldn't need to be that long, the depth of the foundations and seismic safety requirements would likely bring the cost to a similar level. Though the idea of a quick 8-mile trip between continents sounds exciting, such a high price tag explains why the project has never been started. Besides, there are already reliable alternatives. Multiple ferries cross the strait daily, with popular routes between Tarifa and Tangierville, as well as Algeciras and Tangier. And for travelers who prefer not to travel by sea, flying is another convenient option. There are approximately 1,000 flights between Europe and North Africa every day. So while a bridge would improve accessibility, considering the existing options and the potential costs, it's understandable why such a project hasn't moved forward. But even if we had all the money in the world, would the nations involved even agree to build it? Because sometimes the biggest barriers aren't physical, they're political. A bridge connecting Spain and Morocco would require cooperation on planning, construction, and financing. However, the two countries have a complex history and diplomatic challenges that could affect such collaboration. One source of tension is Spain's control of Ceuta and Melilla, 2 cities located in North Africa but administered by Spain. Ceuta was taken by Portugal in 1415 and later ceded to Spain in 1668. Melilla was incorporated by Spain in 1497. Spain also held Ifni, a territory in southern Morocco, beginning in 1860. After Morocco gained independence in 1956, calls to recover these territories grew. In 1957, unrest in Ifni escalated into the Ifni War, lasting about 8 months and resulting in casualties on both sides. The conflict ended in April 1958, when Spain relinquished Ifni. However, Ceuta and Melilla remain under Spanish governance, with Morocco asserting claims to them, while Spain regards them as long-standing parts of its national territory. The matter continues to affect bilateral relations. Another layer of complexity involves Gibraltar, a British overseas territory on Spain's southern coast. It was taken during the 1704 War of the Spanish Succession and ceded to Britain in 1713. Gibraltar remains under UK jurisdiction, which Spain continues to contest. While any bridge project would likely be built west of Gibraltar, portions of the strait fall under British maritime control, meaning the UK would likely seek involvement in related discussions. Given these ongoing disputes, constructing a bridge across the Strait of Gibraltar presents not only an engineering challenge but a diplomatic one. A project of this scale would require close coordination between Spain, Morocco, and the UK. While improved relations could facilitate progress, territorial issues like Ceuta, Melilla, and Gibraltar remain sensitive. Whether they can be resolved is uncertain. What's clear is that successful collaboration will be essential for any future crossing between Europe and Africa. As if geological challenges and political tensions weren't enough, some believe there's another reason no bridge spans the Strait of Gibraltar: orcas. In May 2023, a sailing crew in the strait reported a sudden, unexpected impact. Upon inspection, they discovered the rudder had been damaged, apparently by a pod of orcas. Though the boat began taking on water, everyone was safely rescued. This wasn't a one-off event. Since May 2020, researchers have recorded approximately 700 incidents involving orcas interacting with boats in this region. The cause of this behavior is still being studied. Some theories point to food scarcity, while others suggest playful or territorial responses. Regardless, these large, fast-swimming marine animals, with bite forces estimated around 19,000 psi, pose a potential challenge in these waters. Their interactions with vessels suggest a high sensitivity to changes in their environment. A major construction project, like a 9-mile bridge, would introduce barges, cranes, and transport ships, equipment that might disrupt their habitat. Such disruptions could complicate timelines and increase costs. Construction workers such as underwater welders and divers would be required to operate in these conditions. While safety protocols exist, the possibility of close encounters with large marine animals could raise additional concerns that would need to be carefully addressed through planning and risk mitigation. Some even look to the past for stories about this mysterious stretch of water. Ancient Greek historian Diodorus Siculus once claimed that Hercules narrowed the strait to block sea monsters from entering the Mediterranean. While mythological, such legends highlight how long this area has inspired caution and curiosity. Whether inspired by real sightings or folklore, these stories add to the region's mystique. Real or myth, modern science and ancient legends both point to the Strait of Gibraltar as a place of intrigue and unpredictability, making it one of the most fascinating and challenging places on Earth for a potential bridge project. Want more deep dives into big ideas, impossible projects, and the wild what-ifs of our world? Subscribe now. We've got more stories that bend the map and test the limits. But what if the answer isn't just to fight nature, but to reimagine the entire concept of a crossing? Despite numerous challenges, the idea of building a bridge over the Strait of Gibraltar has never completely disappeared. In 2004, American architect Eugene Sui proposed an ambitious concept: a 9-mile crossing from Tarifa to Point Ceres. His design featured a bridge extending 1 mile from the coast, gradually sloping down into a 2-mile underwater tunnel at a depth of 650 feet. The tunnel, made of waterproof concrete, would sit high above the 3,000-foot seabed. deep enough to allow ships to pass safely above. This tunnel would carry vehicles beneath the strait, with 24 lanes for cars, buses, and trains. Eventually, the tunnel would rise to connect with a 3-mile-wide floating island located mid-strait. Sui's vision didn't stop there. The island would include a resort, theater, and 150 wind turbines, supported by 80 underwater turbines. According to Sui, this setup could generate enough renewable energy to power Cadiz and even Morocco. He also suggested that the project could repay its estimated $10 billion cost through energy production over time. While creative, these projections have raised questions. Morocco's population is nearly 40 million, and powering an entire nation would likely require significantly more infrastructure. For context, estimates suggest that around 48,000 wind turbines would be needed to meet the energy demands of the United Kingdom, which has a similar population size. Sui's concept offers a mix of transportation, tourism, and energy, while avoiding deep foundations. However, its feasibility remains uncertain. Could a floating island span 3 miles? How would a submerged tunnel remain stable 650 feet below the surface? And could the structure withstand seismic activity in this tectonically active region? The idea of crossing the strait isn't new. In 1930, Spain proposed an underwater tunnel to link Europe and Africa. But geological surveys found the seafloor to be composed of dense rock, making traditional tunneling impractical. One alternative proposed anchoring a prefabricated tunnel to the seabed with high-tension cables, though it was considered technically unfeasible at the time. Still, large undersea tunnels have been built. The Channel Tunnel, which links the UK and France, opened in 1994, spans over 30 miles and cost around $30 billion. Unlike the Strait of Gibraltar, though, the channel reaches only 250 feet deep and runs through soft chalk, making construction much simpler. While a Gibraltar crossing remains a fascinating idea, the technical and geological hurdles make it far more challenging than previous projects. But what if one idea, quietly brewing for decades, might finally break through the barriers? Could a century-old vision, backed by international momentum, be on the verge of becoming reality? Tunnel discussions remained quiet for decades until 1979, when Spain and Morocco agreed to study the feasibility of a tunnel under the Strait of Gibraltar. They proposed the Europe-Africa-Gibraltar Strait Fixed Link, a railway extending over 500 miles from Madrid to Casablanca. A key feature of the plan involves a tunnel beneath the strait. Engineers recommended avoiding the strait's narrowest point and instead placing the tunnel between Tarifa and Tangier. This route would require crossing 17 miles of water, roughly twice the length of a tunnel at the narrowest section. Its maximum depth would be around 1,500 feet, still only half the depth of the narrowest crossing in the strait, but approximately 6 times deeper than the Channel Tunnel. Despite the concept's promise, progress has been slow due to geological challenges like the hard seabed and seismic risks. However, interest may be growing again. In 2023, Portugal, Spain, and Morocco were selected to host the 2030 Soccer World Cup, the centenary event and the first to be jointly hosted across 2 continents. This historic tournament could increase the need for faster and more efficient travel between the host countries. That same year, Spain allocated around $2.5 million for a design study on the tunnel. Preliminary estimates suggest the railway could carry up to 12.8 million passengers annually and reduce travel time between Madrid and Casablanca to around 5 hours, about 7 hours faster than traveling by car and ferry. After nearly a century of exploration and planning, a tunnel connecting Europe and Africa may finally be gaining traction. With ongoing discussions between Spain and Morocco, the vision of a fixed rail link across the strait appears more plausible than ever. While technical and environmental challenges remain, The aspiration to bridge the Strait of Gibraltar continues to inspire. Ceuta, Melilla, Gibraltar, politics, engineering, or Orcas? What do you think is the real reason this bridge hasn't been built? Drop your theory below. I'm reading them all. If you found today's video interesting, don't hesitate to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Your support is very important to us. Be sure to check out the next video appearing on your screen. You're sure to love the content we bring. Please leave a comment about which country you'd like us to explore next. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Thanks for being with us. Leave a comment, like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more exciting videos. See you next time.